In this video, I'll show you how to create a bolt. Typically, you could get your bolts off of the parts library, but it's nice to be able to create your own. And so there are times when we just need to create a thread. So for an external thread, this is the same process. So first of all, you need your dimensions. If you go online, and it's pretty easy to search for dimensions on fasteners. In this case, the call out was for a button head socket cap screw. So I found this website here. It's this Ames web. The size that we are using on this one is a number 8. It's actually an 832. So here's what a button head looks like. It has this rounded off head. The dimensions you're looking for, of course, are the size of the head, the size of the hex slot, the depth of the slot, the diameter, length, so forth. So you can get everything out of this table here. So body diameter is 0.164. So that's going to be your major diameter here. So if you're going to create a extrusion, that's the dimension that you're going to use, and the head diameter, head height, etc. So all the data that you need is right there. So typically that's how I would do it. You could pull it out of an engineer's handbook if you have it, but this is typically easier than doing that. So I start off with a sketch. Let me go into my sketch here, and clearly what I'm going to do is revolve this. So using the dimensions from that chart, I created the overall size. Now, since we're creating a drawing of a commercial part, everything doesn't have to be perfect. You do need to get your nominal sizes right for the diameter and the length and so forth, but you know, in terms of everything being perfect, you don't have to sweat that too much. Do the best you can using the information that you have. So then once I have that sketch, I'll use my revolve tool. To create the blank for this, we need to put a thread on it. Now before you put a thread, you're going to want to put a chamfer on that. Excuse me. So use the chamfer tool, and that chamfer is 20 thousandths, so it's going to be 020. Standard is 45-degree angle, so all you got to do is click on that corner right there to put the chamfer on it. You always want a chamfer on a threaded fastener. It just makes it so much easier for it to function. To put the thread on there, go up to Hole Wizard and just click on Thread. And you get this message. It's fine. It always pops up like that. So before you do anything, check your settings. So it's going to be an external thread. So an external thread is created with a die. If it's an internal thread, it'll be with a tap. And this is an inch size. The size we're using is an 832. So it has all the sizes from 0 all the way up to, I don't know how big it goes. Looks like 4 inches. So we're looking for an 832 thread. And basically click on the thread location. The other thing it's going to ask you is how long is the threaded part going to be. And let's just try, I think I use 0.325. Let's see how that works. So then you just have to, for thread location, just click on that. That's basically your starting point for your thread. And let's see, we'll get, oh, I think I put 0, 3, 1, 2. It shouldn't be a 0, obviously. Let's do that again. Thread. .325. That makes more sense. Okay. So thread location. Let's click on there. And that value I just put in there is how much of it is going to be threaded. So if you want less thread, you would do that and just say OK. And that generates a thread. Now it does take a fair amount of memory for your machine, so if you have a lot of threaded fasteners, it could really drag your machine down. You can change, there's a setting up here you can change. For this thread, this is cosmetic thread, or you can make it a shaded cosmetic thread, so you can minimize the amount of energy that it takes or memory that it takes to make that. Okay, so there's our threaded fastener. We do need to put there's a hex head indent in that, so we'll need to do a sketch for that. And again, I'm going to rely on my dimensions that I got off of my chart. Use your hex or polygon tool here. from the chart that the dimensions of this from flat to flat, oops, no, didn't want to do that. From the flat to the flat is 0.1 inches for this, for an 832 thread. And it's always a good idea to orient this thing so when you put it on your drawing it's going to make a lot more sense. So the easiest way to do that is just to add a relation, click on one of these and just make it be horizontal. And then we'll have to extrude that pocket out by doing an extrude cut. And the depth on that was 80 thousandths. Again, that came out of that chart I was looking at. So that's how, that's the, and those will say minimums on those charts. So that's the space you have to put your wrench in there. Obviously you can't go too deep into that because it would weaken the bolt. So there is our threaded fastener. Now when you put on a drawing sheet, make sure that you call out the threads. You don't, the diameter, just calling out the diameter is not sufficient. You need to call out the thread. So see what I did here? I just used a note to call out the threads. I called out the length of the thread, the size of the chamfer, all the dimensions for the head of the bolt and so forth. But just use your note tool to call out the thread size. We don't call out the diameter of this. You just call out the thread size.